Hello, welcome to the jungle. Welcome back. Can I just firstly say I'm really enjoying these videos. It's kind of like therapeutic for me, and I don't know why I didn't start sooner. Actually, I do know why, because of fear and insecurity. But on the other side of our fears is just great joy. So I'm really enjoying this, and welcome back. Today I wanted to touch base on emotions and emotional patterns. So, what are emotions? Emotions are a range of feelings we experience as human beings, and they happen because there's usually a thought behind that we have accepted to be true, which then gets energetically charged to release that feeling. So those are, in simple terms, that's what an emotion is. We feel something because we've thought something that we believe is true. So where do these thoughts come from then? Like, what are they? So our thoughts arise from either our conscious mind or subconscious mind. In general terms, our subconscious mind is basically the net sum of our programming, conditioning, and experiences in life. So it's the net sum of all of those things. And so it tends to be very kind of reactive thinking. You've got like a bank of information and out it goes. You know, this is based on who I am, where I'm from, what life experiences I've had. These are the things I believe to be true, that sort of a thing. Now, on the other hand, I guess our conscious mind is the more aware mind. It's aware of the biases. It's able to discern a lot better, and it's able to look at the facts presented as they are. And it's very much from a place of responding rather than reacting. So there is a pause, a moment where you think, okay, what does this mean? What is it all about? And then you're able to respond to what's happening. So these are just general explanations. Now, the conscious mind or the aware mind is, I think, both very useful. So the subconscious mind is there to kind of keep you safe. It's kind of your pre-programming. It's definitely designed to keep you safe. But in a time when we live so very safe from a physical perspective, it tends to still kind of get you to react, and we're not yet quite living in a conscious way where we're responding and understanding and realizing who we are and what we're about. And I definitely believe that the awareness journey is the evolution of mankind doing that, kind of being able to discern and understand what's going on for what it is. So anyway, so those just little summaries. Going back to our emotions. So we feel something because we think something. And we think something based on our experiences and understandings. Most of the time we react subconsciously. Now, once we've felt something or we've made like definite emotionally charged decisions, these emotions tend to become patterns. So that's like what we know to be true, like that's what we do. And a good example of this is, I remember when I was younger, I think it was one of my first kind of relationships where I met a person who'd just come out of a relationship. And when it broke off, I was desperate and sad. And, you know, people said, oh, you were obviously rebound because, you know, he had a previous relationship and we met very soon after. And then I realized, oh, well, that's what I am then. I'm rebound. So what I attracted after that tended to be kind of a repeat of the same thing. I'd meet these partners who just came out of a relationship, and it really wound me up. Like, I'm not a rebound person. So eventually I was able to recognize the emotional pattern and go, hold on, there is something I could do about this, you know, because I was very, as I mentioned in the last video, very triggered and just was not happy with the way things were. So I said, no more. If I meet someone and they've just come out of a relationship, I'm not gonna continue to pursue what's going on. Anyway, so a good example of this is when I met my husband. The first time I met him, he'd just come out of a very long-term relationship. And after dating a couple of I think we went out a couple of times and I was like, no, I'm not doing this again. Clearly we're not meant to be, because you've just come out of a relationship. It was a very long-term relationship, so that's it. Now, I didn't see him for about a year and a half. After our first few dates, and when I bumped into him again, I fully thought he'd probably be back or in another relationship or something, but he was single, and we got together, and we're still together, very happily together. So I was able to break my emotional pattern in that particular circumstance. Now, that's just an example of an emotional pattern. Now, at a more deeper introspective level, we pick up a lot more emotional patterns especially from a young age. This is what psychologists always look at, the kind of childhood experiences, because a lot of our emotional decisions were made very young, and our understandings. So when we're very young, our parents tend to be, or our carers tend to be, the ones that kind of provide that information, that data on what's important and the way to be. And this goes beyond the five senses of what they say to us, what we hear, what we see. It's also like how they're feeling despite what they might be saying. So even though you might be walking around like, yeah, I'm fine, your kids can kind of pick up energetically what you're really feeling. So something to be conscious about. But anyway, so looking back on my own sort of childhood, I mentioned in the last video I was getting triggered, and I traced back to my emotion, and my emotion to my thinking, and my thinking to my experiences. What led me to think that? And although they try their best, for example, my self-pleasing nature, my kind of external validation, very much I felt comes from my lovely mum, who tries her best. And she was married young, and she had a lot of circumstances in her life that made her that way, and I obviously picked that up from her, and I didn't even know it consciously. See, the thing is, the more time you spend kind of getting in touch with yourself and being aware of your thinking and your way of being, you can make empowering decisions. So I was able to see it for what it was, appreciate my mum's situation as well, and say, you know what, she had it tough, and she did her best. Actually, she did a really good job, but that is not a positive thing for me to continue to do. It's not even necessary. So once I realized that, I was able again to make changes, to make better decisions, more conscious decisions about who I want to be, which is, to live my fullest best self, without fearing or needing external validation. So that's been a very, very interesting kind of uncovering for me. But yeah, so emotional patterns are, it's important to understand them and deal with them. As I mentioned in the last video, we got to figure it out. And it's good to be aware of where your emotions come from, and trace it back to a thought, and trace it back to an understanding you've taken from somewhere or somehow, so that you can reconclude and move forward with your best self. Now, the thing about emotions that we have to take heed is, emotions, if left unchecked, become a mood. You become in a certain type of mood or certain type of vibe. And if that goes unchecked, it becomes a state, a way of being. And it might not even be true to your being. And, the subconscious mind is there to keep us safe, safety as its priority. So it will keep feeding you that kind of information to keep you safe. But the thing is, we live in such a safe time now where, there aren't many, real, especially physical threats to our lives. So I guess as part of that evolution, we need to wake up as well as the human family and operate in a more conscious way. So we're not always ourselves in pain and causing pain to others, or living in an unaware way. So those are my explanations for, and part of, sort of my journey of realization of what emotions are, what emotional patterns are. I challenge you to trace it back, all emotional patterns you have, especially those undesirable ones, and your emotions back to a thought, and where's that thought coming from, why do you have them. It, to me, to like, you know, to keep going as you are, especially if it's not bringing you joy, is not very helpful. But bringing awareness in the way you operate, being in tune with yourself, awareness in your thinking, that is what meditation is. You know, I think people forget the purpose of meditation is to increase your level of awareness and the way you operate, how you're feeling, so you can operate from a much more conscious place. So meditation is a great tool. I like to write things down. I'm like, right, so I'm not writing every single emotion I have, but if it's something strong and it's something that I'm not enjoying and uncomfortable, then I trace it back and I try to make better decisions for any future experiences I might have that are similar. So hope you've enjoyed that. Thank you for listening, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.